Nobody talks about you, then you are nobody. Then you are nobody. Remember, child, everybody get that problem for head.
Greetings. I am Priestess Osun Funke, and today I'm going to ask the ancestors whether or not abortion is murder. Let's see what the ancestors have to say. Okay, so the ancestors are coming through on the first row. I love it. The first card I have is the card for the shapeshifter. So this is talking about instability. This is talking about someone who is all over the place. It's talking about someone who wears a mask, who's not necessarily the same with each encounter. The next card I have is the card for unconditional love. And I have the card for the ancestors. Okay, so if I read this row of cards like a sentence, then the ancestors are simply saying, you guys are all over the place. Every time we look up, you're doing something different, but we love you no matter what. Okay. The next card I have is the card for the brat. All right. This is talking about someone who is ungrateful, someone who is immature. I get the card for the elder. Okay, the opposite of the brat, basically. And then I get the card for karma. Okay, and so this row of sentences is saying you guys need to grow up. You're acting like children. You're being ungrateful. You're being very, very bratty. You need to become wiser, be more mature, become the elders that your community needs you to be. Otherwise, your karma is going to be affected. The next card I have is the card for the yogi, and it is upside down. And so this is saying you guys you're not meditating, you're not praying, you're not thinking. And you're also not trying to contort yourself, trying to make yourself fit into the paradigm that you're living in. You're kind of in denial is really what that card is saying. I get the card for the gambler, which talks about a strategy, perhaps even a misplaced strategy, but let's see what the next card is. And the next card is the love child. Okay. So they're saying that you're not willing to imposition yourself. And so you're taking a risk with your children. Okay, so for me, this has a little bit of a deeper understanding because we know that our children are actually our ancestors and that they come back through. And so the ancestors are saying, you guys don't want to be inconvenienced. And so you're taking a risk by not allowing these children to come through. Because perhaps these children that would be born are ancestors returning who have exactly what we need to improve our culture and conditions at this time. Let's keep going. The next card I have is the card for the nobleman. So this is reminding us of our noble ancestry. Followed by the card for laser vision, which is upside down. So this is talking about our focus, okay? Followed by the card for the messenger, which is also upside down, okay? So you guys have not been receiving the message that you are not focused on your noble heritage. So again, they're talking about these children, these ancestors, these ancient wise ancestors who are slated to come through. But we're so busy living our lives and caught up in our flesh that we don't want to inconvenience ourselves. And we don't want to allow these ancestors to come through. We don't want these babies to be born. Okay. So they're still kind of reprimanding us. The next card I get is the card for seduction, which I think is self-explanatory. It's talking about one who's being seduced by a person or an idea. The next card I get is the card for deception, and it's upside down. So they're saying you guys aren't being deceived. Followed by the card for self-deception, and it's also upside down. They're saying you're not being deceived. There's no trickery happening here. Okay, you're not even deceiving yourselves. You guys are just full of lust. Okay, you are so busy seducing one another and getting caught up in these sexual acts that you're not actually thinking about the ramifications. You're not thinking about the possibilities of a portal being opened. That's what they're saying. The next card I get is the card for the artist, which is talking about lies. or creative language. The next card is the card for the arrival, which means at this time, followed by the card for chaos. So at this time, or this is a time of lies and chaos. Okay? That's what the ancestors are saying. I don't disagree. I get the card for the magician, the card for obstacles, and the card for contemplation, which is upside down. Okay, so this final row of cards is basically saying you guys have the ability to influence your reality, but the obstacle to that is that you're not thinking. Okay, so they're not really saying, yes, abortion is murder, but they're saying you guys are closing portals. You're not allowing the ancestors through. You're being selfish and ungrateful. We deserve to have a way to come back, just like you had an opportunity to come here. They're saying we're too caught up in these sexual acts, seducing one another, and we're not thinking about the ramifications of those acts. And so when a woman becomes pregnant, she may or may not decide to follow through with the obligation that her actions has created. Okay. And then they're saying that we have the ability to change all this. Abortions don't have to even be a thing. But we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about it. And clearly we're deceiving ourselves. No one is forcing this down our throats. And they just see us being ungrateful. So with that, the ancestors have spoken. Let's see what they have to say with the bones. Okay, there's a lot off the board. Okay. So we have a clump right here. So I'm going to try to wade through this clump and see what the ancestors are saying. Okay. So the first thing I have is the quarter over communication. And so this is saying that communication would pay off. Communication with the ancestors, communication between men and women, communication is going to pay off. And I have the danger stone over communication. So that's saying the lack thereof is dangerous, okay? And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I have the eraser over Oya. And so this is saying that things need to change. Oya is the emissary of swift and positive change. And it's saying this situation needs to change. So on abortion, they're saying it needs to change. Okay. Back to the clump, I have the rose quartz over the bullseye. Okay. So this is talking about love relationships. This is talking about romantic relationships. And it's saying, that's the problem. The relationships between men and women, that is what's going on. That is where we need to focus our energy. Okay. On trying to figure out I get the beetle over the throat chakra. Okay. And so this is talking about an infestation. And this is basically saying that people are not speaking their truth. Okay. That perhaps, women are not communicating when they find themselves pregnant. They may not be speaking to the fathers and actually communicating what their true desires are. At the same time, the men may be giving up their ability to influence the situation by not properly communicating or effectively communicating with the women. So if a woman gets pregnant and she says, I don't think this is a good idea, I don't want to have the baby, perhaps the men are not speaking up. They're not saying, no, I want to have my baby, which would be the encouragement that women might need to go ahead with the pregnancy. They're saying that lack of communication is affecting this problem. I get the fool's gold over the heart chakra as well as the smoky quartz. So this is saying that we can't trust our hearts right now. All that glitters isn't gold. That we may think that we're in love one moment only to realize that we're not, and that we're not seeing, we're not listening to our hearts, and we're not seeing what's happening in our hearts clearly right now. I have the tiger's eye, the creativity stone over the ancestors. So the ancestors are reminding us that they're creating a way for these babies to come through, that they're creating an opportunity for themselves through these pregnancies, and that basically we're blotting it out. We're erasing the opportunity for change. Okay, we're not letting these wise ancestors back through. And so we're missing out on a great deal of wisdom and help that we could have in our culture. They're creating the way and we're closing it. And I know that that's what they're saying because I have the sober stone over the solar plexus. Okay, so the sober truth is that we're blocking creativity. Okay, we're blocking the ancestors' creativity. I also have a clump of cowrie shells over the sacral chakra, and then I have the amplifier stone over the root chakra. So they're saying, you guys are all caught up in your lower chakras. You guys are responding to desire. You're responding to base impulses. You just want to have sex. You're making these babies and you're not thinking about your long-term survival. You're not thinking about the ancestors who may be trying to come through. You're just not thinking. The root chakra is amplified here. Okay. We get the transformation stone over the clown. So they're saying that this foolishness must stop. Okay. I get the money stone that's placed equidistantly between prayer and meditation. And they're saying prayer and meditation would pay off hugely in these instances. Okay. So pray and meditate about it. I get the trophy over empathy. So they're saying that we would win if we were to use empathy, to employ empathy in these matters, to think about each other, to think about the baby, which, as we know, is an ancestor who's trying to get back through. And then I have the skeleton over the thumbs up, and I have the ancestor stone over the thumbs up. So really, the ancestors are saying, yes, in a way, because the question, remember, was, is abortion murder? They're saying, yes, you're killing us. Okay. The ancestors are saying you are killing us with these decisions. Yes, you're not allowing us to come back through. You guys are not keeping your end of the bargain, is kind of what I feel them saying. And then I have Oshun. Actually, I have Oshun and Shango coming through, but let me deal with Oshun first. I have Oshun coming through with the snowflake jasper, and this is talking about a unique situation. Oshun is the orisha that governs fertility, okay, and prosperity and abundance. And she's saying, this is really crazy because I'm giving you guys these babies. I'm giving you fertility. I'm giving you what people up until this point in history have prayed for, and you guys are not valuing these blessings. Okay. And then finally, I have Shango coming through with the open cowrie, which just means that he's speaking in on this matter. He's weighing in on this matter. Shango is a warrior, and he's saying, I'm fighting for things to be different. The last word on this is the finish line with the 1. Okay. On the dice. And so this is really just saying that we're being selfish at this time. Okay. Because we have the button over now. So at this time, they feel like we're being selfish, that we're just having all this sex. We're responding to very base and low vibrating impulses. We're not thinking about what we're creating when we're laying down with one another. We're not talking to each other and communicating our true desires. We're certainly not thinking about the ancestors and the part that they play in our lives and the responsibility that we have to them to allow them a way back in. Is just all bad. We need to do better. So with that, the ancestors have spoken. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like a private reading or a spiritual counseling session, please visit www.blackspectrumnetwork.com or you can visit www.priestessosunfunke.com. Also, be sure to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
If nobody talks about you,